This meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. Also like to bring regrets from Councillor McBurney. He couldn't make it this evening. Confirmation of the agenda that the Council of Township of North Huron hereby approves the agenda for September 3rd, 2024 council meeting as presented. Mover, Councillor Wright, Councillor Van Hitterson, all in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. Consent agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent items 4.1.1 to 4.1.2, and further that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent items 4.1.3 to 4.3.7 for information purposes. May I have a mover? Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Palmer, would anybody like to pull anything from the agenda? Seeing none. All in favor? Carried. Public meetings and hearings and delegations. We have Amy and Gwen from Gateway Center of Excellence in Rural Health, CERH. Mission and projects. This time we'd like to welcome their presentation at this time.
Thank you very much for having Bill.
You have to press the button on the microphone.
She didn't listen to me.
There. Thank you very much for allowing us to come and speak with you. My name is Gwen Devereux, and I'm the president of Gateway Center of Excellence in Rural Health. And this is Amy Sturgeon, one of our research assistants that we've had over the last year with us. So thank you very much. I'm extremely proud of this organization, and you may know a lot about it, or you may know very little about it, but we're charity formed 16 years now since we started it, and we look at all relevant issues in rural health in Grey Bruce, Huron, and Perth. And we are in Goderich. Oh, my assistant is going to advance the slides. So there we go. So we were established in 2008. We have 17 rural health research chairs that are physicians or PhDs. And they are all volunteers, and we have a wonderful board of 13 volunteers as well. We have initially looked at the economic impact of a couple of million, and we have had over the last year in that picture, you see 7 of our research assistants, and incredibly proud of this group, with 4 of them of this group heading to medical school. This organization was really formed because I'm an RN, but I've worked for years in physician recruitment. And it was born of me being an aging baby boomer, needing a nurse by my side, and trying to find physicians to go into rural, which is not an easy feat. So basically, our mission is to improve the health and the quality of life of rural residents through research, education, and communication. It's simple. We have a lot of partners now that I'm really extremely proud of. So we partner with academic centers, etc., and hospital alignments. And the goal is to create a center at each of our small rural hospitals who do not have a research center, only the larger urban. So when it comes to recruitment, we can have our physicians, nurses, and lab techs, etc., not only teaching here, but also doing research. And we're going to just mention a few of our projects because I know we only have 10 minutes and we can talk a lot about these projects. So we'll go very quickly through these projects. This one is Amy's, so I'll leave it to her.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. So the Legion Learning is one of my baby projects. So this is in partnership with Branch 109 located in Goderich, Ontario. We officially launched as of April 19th this year. Essentially, it's connecting seniors with technology and trying to bridge that gap of digital literacy. So it's senior-led, senior-based, one-on-one workshops, but also a group setting workshop. So in the picture in front of you here, we actually have an OPP officer talking about frauds and online scams, and how to watch out for those landline frauds that we know Peel Region just did a huge arrest for, I believe back in May. So this was twice a week, in-person sessions, Monday and Friday drop-in, and then it was also twice a month speakers. So we were able to bring in laptops, iPads. So if they didn't have the tech but wanted to learn more about the tech, we could have that on site, or they could bring theirs in and we could help them hands-on learn as well. The second part of this project is the more fun social aspect of it as well, because coming out of the pandemic, we know social isolation amongst our seniors was very hard, especially within rural. So this, as you can see here, we've got a skee ball machine. We also brought in pinball, a golf chipping pad, as well as a Nintendo Switch Sports. So this is bowling, tennis, golf, anything to get them socially active and moving. It's also wheelchair accessible because you don't need to stand for long periods of time. So that really just helps the social and the movement ability. We also brought in a driving simulator. So this is with a VR headset, pedals, a wheel, and also a gear shift. So they can get comfortable and confident behind the wheel. And they can also do operations such as shoulder checks and checking for pedestrians, stoplights, anything like that for reaction time. If they do get nauseous, they don't have to use the VR headset, but it just makes it a more immersive experience, thus bridging the gap between technology and seniors as well.
And this is my baby. I'm married to a farmer, and a man, and I know it's very difficult for them to admit when they need help. And so our idea around Farmers Wellbeing and Safety Project is to bring farmers together to form networks in their own community, small groups, so they can lean on each other before they get into difficulty. And our economy, this is no secret, with 2,564 farms, with capital assets of 12.2 billion. I never get tired of pointing that out, how important this is to our economy. This is our economy in Huron County. And if we can't keep our farmers safe and healthy, where are we? So this is an extremely important project, and we launched it at the Brussels Barn. And if you have not all been at the Brussels Barn, we should leave right now. It is an incredible place, and we launched with over 100 people in December, a large shed talk with speakers so that they would be motivated to branch into their small shed talks in their own community where they're safe. And there's a wonderful video on YouTube. 1.4 million have viewed it, and it is about our shed talks. You can see it on our website. You can just go on YouTube and put shed talks in, and it'll come up with a grant from Ontario Hydro.
So this is our mental health first aid project. So essentially, if you've ever done CPR training, where it's a hands-on day learning, it's the same thing, but instead it's going to be for mental health first aid. It gives barrier-free training to people. So this came out from a previous project of mental health and COVID-19 within the workplace. And this is our response to that survey and that research that we've done. So this just gives our community and our community members the training to know when someone might be in a mental health crisis, you yourself, a family or a friend or a coworker, and how to better assist that. It also does touch on substance misuse as well, but that can extend into further training later on. But it also teaches you how to maintain your own wellness. So when you are reacting to a situation, how to take the time afterwards to deal with that to help mitigate any kind of residual health concerns that you may have for your own mental state and for your person that you're taking care of. So it includes online modules the day before and then one day in person where you just run through scenario-based crisis.
Oh, and this is another fave, Brave F, and this is around our volunteer firefighters. And this stemmed from an incident that occurred with a Bayfield firefighter a year ago this past summer, and which he had a cardiac event and died in response to getting someone in the water that was in trouble. And I think we looked at our firefighters and also at the same time, we came to realize that 71% of our firefighters across Canada are all volunteer. And they're protecting us and our loved ones and now first responders. So if we can do any intervention with them to try to do some confidential screening that alerts them to an issue and maybe save them. So we're doing a study over 3 years, and that's the Bayfield and the Seaforth Fire Department that we have done the screening on. And we have 360 volunteer firefighters across Huron County in 18 departments. And we're excited about just launching this project and reaching out. We'll do a 3-year study on these firefighters. Oh, and this one's very big, but again, we'll try to keep it small. This is a project about attraction and retention of our skilled healthcare. And we all understand that COVID took a real big hit on our healthcare workers, but we were in trouble before this. And so the beauty of this project is it is a part-time training for our PSWs and our practical nurses. And then many of them bridge up into their RN programs. We don't need to worry about that, but we need to get that part-time PSW. And we're working with Southbridge in Goderich that's just about to open a 160-bed long-term care home. And we're working with them to set up a simulation lab to train these nurses. And they've just recruited 45 international trained nurses. So we're excited about, they'll start as PSWs and hopefully we can train them up very quickly to practical nurses. We also in this do a recognition event for our healthcare workers because they're incredibly important to our community. And we do a Discovery Healthcare Camp. And we've done this for 3 years. We're the only ones doing it in Huron County, and we hold it at Camp Clahoney outside Goderich. It's a 1-week high school student full immersion into what kind of healthcare careers they might be interested in. They learn some clinical skills, like they cast each other, they give injections, not to each other, and they learn to suture, and it's they learn some fun skills, but the whole thing is just to show them the healthcare careers and the possibilities that are there for them, not just thinking of it as doctors and nurses, which seem to be what we're focused on a lot. So it's a great week, and we promote that across our county.
And then the last one I'm going to touch on very briefly is our white paper / donor appreciation event. So White Paper Day is an annual event where every summer our research assistants get to showcase what they've been working on and researching in the summer. For myself, it was over the last year. So I got to show my work, my findings, and what benefit I impacted on the community. And then for donor appreciation event, it's almost self-explanatory, but we invite our donors to this event just so they can hear what their return on their investment is. And it's a way for us to express our gratitude for their support to our efforts, since we are a not-for-profit. And then it's great to network with them over a lunch as well. We get to hear if they've partake in our community events or our programs, and then what they see maybe they want Gateway to do in the future and stuff like that. So it's a great way to hear back some feedback from our donors specifically, and then other community members such as family and friends, and then also showcase some more information about our programs. And that is all. Thank you so much, you guys.
I'd just like to thank you very much, ladies, for your presentation there. I just appreciate your hands-on training that you're doing in many different ways there. It is really good. At this time, I'd like to take any questions from council, please. Go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson.
I don't really have a question, but it is very much appreciated what you do. All our local physicians recruitment committees are aware of you, and local people. It's so important to have them attend these camps and be involved in, from a young age on, that they be involved in healthcare, and yeah, hope they come back to the community.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of research has shown it's then and even younger where we need to reach the kids I'm not doing very well. I have 2 daughters and I never got a nurse, but I haven't done great with my recruitment in nursing, that's for sure. But anyway, a failure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you, through you, Ruth. I was wondering if you could clarify for me, you said there was 45 trained international students coming through for the new
Southbridge, yeah.
Southridge. Was that initiated through your organization or
No,
was that
not
through
at all.
theirs?
That's totally Southbridge.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
But I am involved with the international trained physicians that are coming in, which I know this is off topic, but I am thrilled that the government has. I know that you may be getting one here in Wingham, and I know we're ready for the next round. So that's pretty exciting and new in the physician recruitment world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
Counselor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. Excuse me, thank you, Reeve. Farmer as well, so I appreciate the farmer well-being. I had
And I
about that.
wasn't slamming farmers as being stubborn. I know I made it sound that way a little.
I'm a man. I know what you're
Right.
talking
So
about.
I may have offended some. I didn't mean it that way, but
No, I think we all
what it means
understood.
is you're strong and determined. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that and the other
Yeah,
two.
okay.
Anyways, have you contacted the Huron Federation of Agriculture and the other ones?
Yeah.
Good.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, they've been with us along the way.
Great. Any other comments from any of the members? Seeing none, well, thank you very much, ladies. Really
We
appreciate
appreciate
that.
it.
Thank
and
you.
Thank
all
you
the
very
best.
much.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to go to 5.2. Mark Nonkus, we all know Mark, and welcome him to the podium at this time, please.
Good evening. It's an honor to join you today and be with North Huron's Council. I really have commendation for both your staff and the council itself tonight. And we'll be talking about immigration and how to make sure that immigrants feel like they're part of the community and that they belong here. So we'll just give you a bit of an overview of the Immigration Partnership, the part of Huron County's economic development that I work for. We have this goal to create a welcoming community where newcomers feel supported at home and integrated into all spheres of life. And we do that 4 different ways: by increasing and strengthening collaboration, strengthening capacity of the newcomer serving ecosystem, building welcoming communities by fostering connections and delivering information, and conducting research to better understand immigrant experiences in our area. Immigration partnerships are throughout Canada. There are 89 of them. Huron County got funding to do immigration partnership back in 2010, and we're part of the Economic Development Department. Our goal is to improve newcomer experiences by bringing together organizations that work with immigrants and people who are new to Canada and provide services to them, and to develop stronger strategies to build welcoming and inclusive communities. So why do we need immigrants? And, you know, this is a hot topic at the federal level right now. But sometimes I hear the rhetoric that goes on and I go, wait a minute, are we looking at the statistics? So here's Huron County's population by age, and you can see sharp declines from basically the time of age 10 to 49. We have a large population out migration, and then suddenly at 50 to 59, people start returning. But that means that people who are in the prime of their working career are leaving this area, and they're not coming back until they're ready to say, I'm thinking about retirement. And so you'll see from 60 to 69, when people are retiring, we've got huge groups that are coming back to the area. But we also have to ask who's going to service those folks who are moving to this area. North Huron's population is a little bit different than Huron County. So if we go back, you can see that actually you have a few more 20 to 29-year-olds staying. But then from 30 to 39, 40 to 49, there's again out migration, again coming back from 50 to 59. So the employment shortages on average in Huron County, and this was 2023 data. No, sorry, this is current. This is 2024. Is about 440 jobs are posted every month. We know that COVID accelerated retirements, and so we have more people retiring than people entering the workforce. I think it's appropriate that I go right after Gwen because the most frequently advertised positions are nurses and licensed practical nurses, home support workers, health housekeepers, etc. We know from trends across Canada that immigrants frequently work in the healthcare sector. They have been not working as frequently in rural areas as in urban spaces, but with great partnerships like Gwen's, we can see that that will grow. You'll see store shelf stockers, clerks, order fillers, retail sales, and cooks. Those were other top positions frequently advertised. And then the recruitment challenges, the County of Huron did this business retention study back in 2021. And you'll see there was a number of what we call low-skilled positions, but then semi-skilled positions, people were having trouble filling those positions, and they were also having trouble filling skilled positions. So it really emphasizes that we need workers. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the region, and immigration is a way to address this. So just to give you a sense of the numbers of how many immigrants are in Huron County, we've got 4,200. That's regardless of what year you moved here. 1,355 temporary worker permits issued. That was only in 2022 and 2023. So people can stay for up to 2 years, usually on a temporary worker permit. Depends on which permit you have. We had 135 international study permits issued for people coming to Huron County, and then 70 long-term visitors. And long-term visitors would be people from Ukraine who are escaping war. But the data is not amazing on that. You'll see here, where are they moving, which municipality, South Huron. Orange is 2021. So South Huron got the highest proportion, but they are actually decreasing in the number of immigrants who are moving there. Same with North Huron. The number of immigrants who has declined from 2016 to 2021. And so you'll see where you kind of compare in immigrant population per municipality. What I think is more interesting is the proportion, because that gives you a better sense. So this was 2021, 6.14% of the population in North Huron were defined as immigrants. The Huron County average was 6.84. So this is immigrant attraction. We are growing. 240 people moved 5 years prior in 2016 to Canada and settled in Huron County. In 2021, the blue, that's 275. And North Huron, you can see there is a small trend there for people who are immigrants. These numbers don't include temporary foreign workers. So, that's people specifically who have permanent residence and Canadian citizenship and moved here. Why did they move here? To be close to family and friends. That's usually the first reason people move to an area, because they know someone there, for a job, and then lifestyle preference. And that's from Wayne Caldwell's book. And then this is a challenge that we face in Huron County specifically. You'll see we had 240 people move to Canada and settle in Huron County from 2011 to 2016. And when they did the census 5 years later, half of them had left the area. So we can get people to move here, but we can't always get them to stay. And so that asks us why. One of the big reasons is because people experience discrimination, particularly if you're a person of color. We did a study with Western University, and we found that 7 out of 10 people who were immigrants of color had experienced discrimination, and they were more likely to leave the area if they had experienced discrimination. Other reasons that they leave is a lack of immigrant-focused services. So there is a settlement worker who's available for no cost to people when they move to the country if they're permanent residents, and they'll take you through how to settle in Canada, fill out government documents, They get you connected with various organizations. So that's, if somebody's connected early on with a settlement organization, they're more likely to stay in an area. And if they don't get connected, they're more likely to leave. There's research that backs that up. Social isolation has been a challenge for people, and economic marginalization. So just not good pay, part-time jobs, precarious work. So immigration, this is Wayne Caldwell's book from 2017. He says, it's one of the channels through which small communities can have more confidence in a viable future. Mr. Caldwell says, it's a way to address the needs of an aging population. A way to cope with workforce shortages and to support the economic viability of encouraging new immigrant-owned business development. And certainly we see some of that in North Huron. When we talked about those 4 strategic areas that we're focused on, this is one of them, strengthening collaboration. We want people, when they move to Huron County, to say, I'm going to sign my kids up for school. And then at the school, they say, oh, did you know about settlement services? And did you know that you can get English language training here and it's all no cost? Did you sign up for a library card? So we want people to be referred quickly so that they can get support and get connected to the community and get more integrated faster. We have a LIP council that meets 4 times a year for 2 hours. And certainly that's where a lot of what's happening right now, what programs various organizations are doing is shared, and where we learn how we can support each other and tackle issues that are arising. And we are also prioritizing newcomer youth and helping them foster social connections amongst themselves as immigrants and also with host community youth. So building capacity, we know, so when I talked about discrimination, there's ways that we can address discrimination and learn skills to address discrimination. So last fall, we had a training for municipal staff on building belonging in rural communities and understanding diversity. That was in Walkerton. I believe someone from North Huron was part of that training. We've had sessions about how to address discrimination if you witness it, and that was for community organizations. And we're also working with employers to help them learn to attract and retain international talent. We've got resources that we're developing. So a newcomer guide that provides people with all the information of who to see when you move here. We've just released Building Belonging, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion in Rural Communities. It's a guide that takes you through what's this all mean and what do these terms mean. So it introduces you to the concepts, and it also says what's a microaggression. A microaggression is like a slight discrimination that is repeated often. So maybe everybody who is of European background sits together at lunch, and the person who is an immigrant is off by themselves. So that would build up over time, and it would cause resentment and maybe cause somebody to leave a community. So how can we address that? And so this gives you micro affirmations and ways to help people feel included in the community. And then we're also building welcoming communities through community engagement. And here is something North Huron has done very well. Cricket Day in Wingham has been an absolute success. And if you were at the sports fields last weekend, you would have seen over 100 people playing cricket and enjoying the sport that they told us 2 years ago. Well, you know, everything's great in Wingham and area, but we really miss a sport that feels like home. And so they started this cricket tournament, and it's just growing and growing, and it's a huge success for them. Diwali is celebrated in Wingham. It was celebrated at the Legion last year for the first time, and I believe it's being celebrated again at the Knights of Columbus Center. The Huron County's Multicultural Festival is a way to build social connections. Newcomer Day at Camp, a Learn to Curl event. And then we also host Welcoming Week, and there's 2 events coming up in Wingham in 2 weeks. One's a Meet Your Neighbor night at the Wingham Library, and the other is the job fair, which Ritu gets all the credit for. We have welcoming booths at community events, and we share information on social media and in newspapers. We also conduct research, and so I'm getting to the end here. But one of the things that people have told us, and this was from a survey of immigrants in Huron and Perth last year, is that these were the top challenges that they faced. And so we had 195 people who were surveyed who are immigrants and moved to Canada and lived in either Huron or Perth. The top challenge they faced was the cost of living or money problem, followed by finding a family doctor, finding affordable housing, transportation, and finding work that matches their professional qualifications. I've heard from many people after presenting this information that, well, this sounds like what most Canadians experience. And I say, yes, it is, with some exceptions. Because if you're an immigrant, often you don't move with your whole social network to a community to say, oh, okay, I'll just call mom and dad if I can't get enough money to pay for rent, right? You can't do that quite as easily. And so I come to you with a rather simple request, I think. We would love it if one of your staff members or an elected official joined the Immigration Partnership Council. So that's the collaboration piece with 25 different organizations to drive immigration support in our region and to understand and share information about what everybody is working on.
Thank you, Mark, for your presentation. I appreciate that. And with your request, so maybe we'll ask our clerk to expound on that a little bit, please.
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. So if council's desirous of appointing someone, I could craft a motion depending on whether you would like to see staff sit on that or certain councilors sit on that, because there would be, I guess, two different appointment processes depending on whether you want staff or whether you want a counselor.
Okay, I'll look for some feedback from members. I'd like to see a staff person on there. That's my personal thought, but what would anything from anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. I was actually going to say the opposite. I thought that would be a perfect opportunity for a counselor, but either way.
Well, I was just thinking when Ritu's involved with a lot of the stuff there, her name came up in there. I just thought that it would sort of fall in place there, but.
Yeah, maybe just ask staff, is she not already involved in that, being that's part of her portfolio? Through staff of their engagement?
Maybe ask you, CAO, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. So Denise actually has been more involved in the immigration Ritu to some extent. Denise has been involved, for example, as Mark has indicated, in the cricket match, for example. So it's up to council in terms of it can be a council representative or a staff member. But I would suggest one of those two individuals, and if it was staff.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just my thoughts for you. I think staff would be better positioned to do this as well. I think they've just got, the meeting hours are similar. Probably the majority of people on this committee are, business hours kind of people. So, and I think we have, a few real good candidates on staff which could walk right into this. So that's my thoughts.
Anybody else like to share anything? Okay,
Yeah, so your motion, just to not handcuff which staff member attends, but you could do something like that. The Council of the Township of North Huron hereby directs for the Township of North Huron's Economic Development Officer or Community Engagement Coordinator to sit as the North Huron representative on the Huron County Immigration Partnership Council.
so is there a way to do that where leave that up to staff to come up with the person that would be doing it? Would that work?
Yeah, through Your Worship, you could set it up in terms of that the CAO appoint a staff member to either one of those two positions to the council.
So you want to read that again?
You're fine with the
motion
as is,
and
then Dwayne
Okay.
make
Yep. Okay, all in, may have a mover, go ahead. Mover, move it, seconder, Counselor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Mark. Were there any questions for Mark? I guess we got into a sidetrack there. Sorry, Mark. We appreciate you coming up to the cricket match there on Saturday. A few people came over, I noticed, and asked you questions. And one thing about it, people out in the field, I couldn't understand them, and we didn't need any refereeing, so that makes things a lot easier, really. So is a great day, and they said they'll be back with more next time. So yeah, it's a great day. So any questions from any of the members? Mark? Very well documented. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, Mr. Nonkus. Okay, staff reports 6.3.1 RC 2024-09 Seniors Active Living Center SALC application. Just before we go into this, since this is a sort of a new initiative, I was just wondering if Director Stice, if you could just talk to it a little bit, it'd be appreciated, maybe. Thank you.
Through you, Reeve Heffer. Before you is I'm seeking direction from council on the opportunity to apply to become a seniors active living center. So they call it a SALC, and that's why it took me a minute, because when you have acronyms, sometimes you forget what the actual words are. So the Seniors Active Living Centers exist throughout Ontario, and they have for a little bit of time, and they have just opened up the opportunity to expand to include more centers. And they have a target for rural is one of the targets, as well as some other areas, Indigenous, and they've also opened it up for some nonprofit organizations to be eligible to apply. So in my research, in the opportunity ahead of us, I've been able to do some research, and most recently reached out to OneCare and had a meeting with Roxanne Serson Wright, and really looked at the opportunity for us to partner with OneCare to be able to meet some of the needs of seniors in our community. And that would be seniors from across the townships, from Blythe to Belgrave to Wingham. And what we are going, if council believes that this is a good direction to go, is we could have an application that would go to the province to ask for us to hire a seniors active living coordinator who would be able to meet some of the needs that exist within our master plan, but also to help to coordinate some of the services and needs of seniors across the township. When I chatted with our advisor, he advised that this is a good way to go, that this is an opportunity for us, and that this is how most municipalities access this designation as a SALC and the funding that you have access to in addition. The funding requires us to get in-kind support, and just this morning I received an email from OneCare, from Roxanne at OneCare, indicating the amount of in-kind support that they would provide. And it would be upwards of $26,000. So it certainly far exceeds what we would be required to do in order to apply for this funding grant. And what they would be able to do in partnership with us is they would be able to deliver some free exercise programs across our community. And why that's important is if we can get older adults out doing some exercises that helps them to prevent things like falls. As we heard earlier, with the two presentations, we have a number of seniors in our community that we need to look after. They also have meal programs and would be interested in offering meal programs in the community as well. So there's just some opportunities, and that's just one example of opportunities for the township to partner with. There would be opportunity to partner with other organizations, but also to coordinate services and to also coordinate a seniors advisory committee, which was, as mentioned, as a direction in the master plan. So that is before you. If for your, I'm happy to answer any questions and seek your direction moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Stice. And at this time from the members, are there any questions for our director? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Thank you, Reeve. Director Stice. So the grant would be for about 40,000 one time? So that mean that when this person gets hired part-time, does that mean that then North Huron pays the salary thereafter?
Through the Reeve, part of the stipulation of this grant is that there is a motion that the council supports the application of this grant. This is an ongoing grant. Once you have been designated as a SALC, as a Seniors Active Living Center, then you're eligible to apply for this funding, and that you do that annually as long as this grant and this act is valid.
Excellent.
Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you, through your, I'm just curious how it would work out being as the township is currently providing services that are covered by membership for the same services that you're proposing to give away for free. I just wonder how one goes against the other in the township's grand scheme of things.
Through you, Reeve Heffer, and thank you for your question. The exercises that One Care offers are exercises. They're really targeted to help people increase their mobility and be able to stay at home or to decrease falls. There would be a delineation between the program that we offer at the complex and throughout our classes that are offered throughout the township. They're more fitness classes. So there's the difference between fitness and exercise. And certainly some of our fitness instructors have taught the exercise programs. But someone who's much more active wouldn't be seeking out the exercise classes of One Care.
Yeah, and just a follow-up through is One Care providing that service already?
Through you, Reeve Heffer, yes, that is currently provided by One Care in our community. And if I can add, Roxanne would have been here tonight, but she is currently at Central Huron's council meeting presenting there because they are going to be applying for this same grant for Central Huron, and that's because One Care owns property or owns a business owns a building in Clinton. And so, but we feel that there's an opportunity to continue to provide those exercise classes across the county and continue to do what they already do, which I believe they have been providing those classes in the Legion.
Any other questions for Director Stice this time? Okay. The Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from the Director of Recreation and Children's Services dated September 3rd, 2024 regarding the Seniors Active Living Center application for information purposes, and further that the council hereby directs the Director of Recreation and Children's Services to proceed with an application to the Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility to designate the Township of North Huron as a Seniors Active Living Center. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Henderson, seconder. Councillor Wright. All in favor? Carried. 6.6.1 CAO 2024-21 Housing Accelerator Fund Intake 2 Action Plan. Okay, at this time, are there any questions for our asset management person, Francine? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson. We'll just let Francine get to the podium. See that there's 6 things that you want to add in here by the looks of it, and so go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. The community improvement plan policy expansion talks about agritourism. is it just agritourism or does it include other agricultural things for if there are little stores or that are not really tourism related, more yeah, for their own benefit?
Through you, Reeve. So no, this fund generally targets residential developments where if we do anything for agriculture, it'll be for accessory units for agricultural housing or housing units, especially for temporary agricultural workers or permanent agricultural workers.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments for, okay, okay, we'll ask
the tourism in the CIP amendment report. Yeah, so that question was for me,
Yeah, she-
not for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
you wanna say-
discussions about the CIP amendments would be your next agenda.
Yeah, that'll be the next step. Okay, any other questions for Francine at this time? There's 6 things she's looking into there, and that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of Asset Management Coordinator dated September 3rd, 2024 regarding the action plan for Housing Accelerator Fund Intake 2 application for the information purposes. And further, that the council approves the action plan prepared by Township of North Huron staff for the Housing Acceleration Fund application with a focus on the following 6 initiatives. May I have a mover? Okay. Number 1, pre-approved ARU designs. 2, phased land acquisition for residential development. 3, subsidized development charges for all residential developers. 4, incentivized mixed use buildings. 5, land redevelopment incentives. And number 6, community improvement plan, CIP policy expansion. Okay, I would go a mover and a seconder first and then see if there's any other questions that come to your mind for Francine. Mover, Deputy Reeve, seconder, Councillor Wright. Is anything come to your mind at all with those 6 points that we've just read? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. 6.6.2 CAO 2024-2022 Community Improvement Plan Amendment. Questions for our EDO? That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of Economic Development Officer dated September 3rd, 2024 regarding an amendment to the Community Improvement Plan, and further, the council authorize the Economic Development Officer to move forward and follow the required process to adopt the proposed amendments to the Community Improvement Plan as presented in the staff report, CAO 2024-22. I'll ask for a mover and seconder, and then we'll take questions. Mover, Councillor Van Hitterson, seconder, Councillor Whitfield. Okay, at this time, are there any questions for our EDO officer? Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. Listen here, the support for additional community improvements to increase pedestrian safety and the walkability of the downtown areas there. As being on the BIA board in Blythe, there's been some and I guess just kind of decision-making that hasn't brought some of the programs forward. One being the little blade signs that we'd all heard about a few years back when they had a fellow come through town and do an assessment of the stores and what would brighten up our downtown and make wayfinding much easier. It was put to the BIAs to try and possibly do that across all the businesses, where consensus was hard to achieve in those settings. I was just wondering if this changes to this plan, that individual store owners could apply to the grant system on their own for the signage. Would that fit into this program? Or is that still going to be left to the BIAs to do something like that?
Thanks for having me here. Through you, Reeve. So the existing would be applied, and what we are proposing, it's the amendment. So we are proposing to add those program as well, because right now, as we discussed here in the CIP report, so we are just focused on the downtown area, and there are many other programs which other municipalities and citywide, they are using it to grow economically. So we are suggesting, and in our strategic plan, so council directed us that we have to review the existing CIP for its relevancy and for its value. So for moving forward into that direction, so we researched about many other community improvement plans, and also we discussed with other economic development like Huron East with Terralyn. So we found that there are many other opportunities we should have or we could have in our CIP amendment. The existing, of course, it's the same, but it just more how we can support our existing business, and also we can invite the other big investment opportunities in North Huron. So we are just recommending those.
Any other questions for our EDO? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. 6.6.3, CS 2024-11, Wingham Town Hall Theater Operations. I'll just read the motion and then we'll go to questions. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report prepared by the Community Engagement Coordinator dated September 3rd, 2024 regarding the Wingham Town Hall Theater operations for information purposes. And further, that the council directs staff to issue a request for expression of interest for the operation of the Wingham Town Hall Theater located at North Huron Town Hall, 274 Josephine Street, Wingham, Ontario. Okay, at this time, we'll ask Denise to come forward, our Community Engagement Coordinator. Are there any questions for our coordinator at this time? Oh, go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
There we go. A few follow-up questions. When I went back and read the theater rental policy, it said that the community engagement coordinator would maintain control of rentals and be the contact for all parties, I think, interested in renting it to that effect. But if the proposal is to kind of transfer all operations to a single third party, would that single third party in essence be the only renter?
No,
Or
well,
how would
yes.
that work?
So we would actually make the bookings through our booking system directly with a third party person. And they would work directly with the performers, with whoever's booking the space. And they would pay us as a municipality to cover those other costs.
So as a follow-up, so for example, that, promotions I get, right? But what if a group like Almost Famous Players wants to rent the hall? Would that still be through an external third party, or would that be through the municipality directly?
No, that would be through a third party.
Okay. So thanks for the clarification. And then so then my other concern is we're putting a lot of the theater, the cost to rent the theater was always basically independent of the costs of operating the theater, right? I don't think there was a really one-to-one relationship there, right? The theater was always kept affordable to encourage bookings. I'm not so much worried about the big performers, but I just wonder if it's possible to somehow, when we set out the expression of interest or in the negotiation have, there's dual rights now, right? Between community groups and
Correct.
private parties. So I'm just a bit concerned that if we include the costs of heat, hydro maintenance and all those other things for community rentals, it might make it unaffordable. So, I guess I'd like to see that. Maybe it doesn't have to be in the expression of interest per se, but maybe in possible negotiations that we still make sure it's affordable for community groups.
So through you, Reeve, to Counselor Wright, when we go through those negotiations, this is supposed to be a community hall. So that would definitely be a question on our end as a municipality to serve all of the community groups, not just private performers.
No, understood, but what I'm saying is, if we're making if we're making a third party cover all these costs, they're gonna, right, heat, hydro, maintenance, et cetera, they're gonna have to charge people in order to cover their costs,
That's
right?
correct.
So are we gonna force them, in order to cover their costs, are we gonna make it unaffordable for community groups to be able to rent the theater? That's my concern. Right?
Yes, and I don't think with the accommodations that the third party would be making, that would be unaffordable for community groups. That's not our goal.
Okay.
This time I'll just ask Clerk Lamb if he'd like to add something to that.
Yeah, I guess, through your worship, my comment would be that, ultimately council can determine what you charge to any third party. So if you wanted to, not dissuade community groups from booking through the third party, you could waive certain costs. It's all about, how cost recovery you want for that service, but you could set that up in any service agreement or MOU with the successful third party.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, thank you, Reeve. Denise, I'm a little concerned that a potential third party, like, is there enough in it for them? You've given us a list of expenses. I'd love to know what an estimate would be. Like, you must have a budget in mind of what the cost of all those items would be, you know, within a range. And you've got to think, okay, it's X number of dollars that they would potentially, well, they would be writing a check back to us.
Mhm.
And is there enough left over for them? Like, so when a performer comes in and they sell tickets, I don't know, do they get all the money per seat? Or does a small portion go back to the hall?
So, for any performer, whether they're a community event or a private performer, they actually collect all proceeds. They just pay us the rental fee. And that would be discussions. So if we were going to go to a third party and you actually wanted me to go through that, expressions of interest, I would have to sit down with Chris and go through all of those costs. To make sure that it is reasonable for a third party to make some sort of money, and then they could set their fee on top of ours.
On top of our fee.
On top of our fee, because we would just be charging that third party for what we needed to cover our costs, not the performer's costs. And if they had staffing or that sort of thing, the third party would have their own.
Please.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. My concern is that we're having conversations about things that would be or not be included in a proposal or a third-party contract with the municipality. Being a board and not being a committee of council, council has no say in the negotiation of the third party. So for us to have conversations at this particular stage before a contract or before a proposal is put before council, it's highly irregular. I don't see the purpose of council debating a contract that we have nothing to do with, and the third party can come and debate and present their proposal to council at the time that they present one. So for council to adjust or what we do or what we pay or what before that process has even come to fruition, I find we're getting ahead of ourselves quite a bit, and I don't think it's council's. There's never been mandated by a bylaw that council would set up that kind of an agreement or not for a third party. We should have nothing to do with that process whatsoever as far as council goes.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, speak to it and then we'll.
Yeah, that's through your worship. Ultimately, the process would be if council's supportive of the staff recommended direction to release an REOI, those expressions of interest, there'd be an intake for them. They would come back, council would be presented those expressions of interest in closed session. Council can discuss the various aspects of the proposal, but ultimately every proposal is going to have to determine whether it's viable for them, present their business case on why it would be viable for them, and council can ultimately make a decision. You might want to see things tweaked in any agreement. You might not find any of them suitable, and that's okay, right? Basically, everyone will come to you with their expressions of interest in their proposals, and then you'll make a determination after that. If you find something acceptable, you direct staff to negotiate a proposed memorandum of understanding or service agreement. And then that would be where council gets your say on whether there's anything else you want included, and eventually that would be adopted by bylaw. So that would be at a high level what your process would be for something like this.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through your, I just think it should be an equal opportunity across the board. I don't think we should be changing it, having any different kind of a leasing agreement with someone that wants to provide the convection areas at the arenas, renting the kitchen spaces than it is renting the theater hall. I don't think there should be special this and special that just drawn out because of an organization. We should have a policy that's equal across the board without having I just don't want to get into a line by line differences between contracts between leases of one thing in the municipality and leases of other things. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson, please.
Thank you very much. Right now, the theater is dealt with through Denise and the theater committee. Is my understanding that is what it is, or is it only the municipality or only you the one taking care of the theater bookings and everything?
So right now it is just myself that is going through and working with any promoter, community group. Anybody that's wanting to rent the theater works with me directly. And then there is some volunteers that aren't North Huron volunteers, but they are the theater volunteers. And they have a website and accessible things that can help the performer get the word out there and sell tickets. But that is separate from North Huron.
Okay, I was just worried that these volunteer groups, they are not interested anymore if other business takes over, and if this fails, if nobody wants to do it, or that they say like, well, we'll do it our best, and now a professional is taking over. What are we going to do then? Is the theater going to sit empty because they can't get volunteers, or what is going to happen?
So the volunteers currently are doing a fabulous job. They meet, greet everyone. The theater wouldn't be there without them. So hopefully, no matter who the third party is, that those dedicated volunteers would feel welcome and be able to continue.
That was my concern.
Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, just to echo Denise's statement, once the theater gets booked, it's really the volunteers work directly with the booking person anyways. So ultimately that relationship wouldn't change much. It's just the front end stuff would change, but the actual day-to-day operations wouldn't change much.
Oh, no, any other comments or questions for our coordinator? Seeing none, I need a mover. Councillor Wright, seconder. Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence requiring action or direction, 7.1 Cowbell Brewing Company, letter, North Huron Sanitary Sewer System in Blythe. Are there questions for our CAO Evans at this time? For 7.1, go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson, please.
Thank you very much. Is this, yeah, how do I see this, as a proposal or as anything like that? I know that we had a couple of years ago, we were pretty concerned about the effluent that was coming from the brewery. Will that be taken into consideration, or how does it work? And we are going to have a new subdivision in Blythe. And there are some concerns with the waste management right now, or not the waste management, the sewage plant, how that is treated. So for me, it feels like it's a little bit too soon to go in any talks with them. I think we have to look after our own issues first and then look after this one or go in talks with them.
Yeah, through your read. So just in terms of with our sewage treatment plant in Blythe, we're currently undergoing a process on looking at that facility. And Cowbell has expressed an interest in being part of that facility. So actually, from a timing perspective, this is good timing because it enables us to incorporate that into our discussions and considerations as we move forward. So it actually is good timing in
Good
terms
timing,
of
okay.
them coming forward and expressing an interest. It enables staff certainly to look at things and to build that into the conversations if that's council's wish.
Okay, so there's no rush with this, like we want to hook up next year or next month or anything like that.
No, through your reeve, there's no immediate indication in terms of a connection, but certainly, you know, the sooner that they could connect
Yeah.
would be their preference. But it's not a situation whereby a certain date they have to be connected if that's where we go.
Thanks.
Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, so I encourage the discussion to happen. I actually worked in a related industry once, and the town was very cranky at us because of sewage treatment plant upsets. The biological loading from these kinds of industries can be extremely high and extremely variable. So just want to make sure we go into that with one eye open. It would be a very significant loading potentially to our treatment plant.
Maybe if I could, Rebel, just so that's exactly Councillor Wright in terms of this is an opportunity for us to look at that loading and then to look at what how we can design that system to accommodate that loading. So and perhaps your situation in terms of the system already exists and it's loading into the system. In this situation, we would design the system to allow for that loading into the system. So just to help with, to clarify that a little bit. And again, going back to Councillor Hitterson in terms of timing, we're currently looking at that system. So if we're going to look at loading into that system, this is the time to look at it.
Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Reeve. I'm just wondering about our pipe situation. Would there have to be an upgrade to the line or is it sufficient?
Your Reeve in terms of with Cal, with
From their position, yeah.
yeah, so that would definitely as part of the looking at in terms of connecting them into the system, that would all have to be looked at. And in terms of what we would need in terms of infrastructure, and then in terms of cost, how that cost is split out. And that's something that would be discussed certainly with council.
When do we expect to see this report? Like, the system needs to be upgraded, right? Do we know when? Do you have a timeline on that? And then now we have this. I understand what you're saying. It's nice to know potentially what's coming. But it's a serious, if they wanted to do it soon, we've got a problem. It won't work, right? Because of this, unless things have been repaired. So I'm all for it, but I'd just like to know it's sort of a timeline for us because we've got to, this is going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah, through your Reeve, just in terms of, so our engineers are currently working on the design work for that facility. So in terms of, if this is a conversation we want to engage in, this is the time to do it, to have that conversation, to build that into the design work that we're doing. From a timing perspective, the design work is currently underway. If council decides to further the conversations with Cowbell and to look at incorporating them, then that dialogue will begin between the two, between Cowbell and the township. And then we'll be bringing back a report to council in terms of what that could or might look like. We may go through this discussions, and at the end of the day, Cowbell may decide that they wish not to be part of our system, and that's a choice that they would make. Conversely, we may go through the process and council may decide that you're not interested. But we're not there yet in terms of that decision point until we determine whether or not we wish to engage and have further conversations.
Thank you. So if there's no other concerns there, I'll read the motion that the Council of Township of North Huron hereby refers Cowbell Brewing Company's interest to connect to the North Huron sanitary sewer system in Blythe to staff, and further that the staff be directed to discuss and negotiate the terms and conditions of a draft agreement with Cowbell Brewing Company regarding a connection to North Huron sanitary sewer system in Blythe and report back to council. And further, that council directs staff to execute a memorandum of understanding with Cowbell Brewing Company in advance of any discussions or negotiations regarding any professional expenses incurred by the Township of North Huron as a result of the discussions, negotiations, or investigations conducted. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, seconder, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Council reports. Again, it was mentioned earlier about the cricket match that went on there a week ago. I can attest to the fact that they're very capable of running their tournaments now by themselves. They do an excellent job, and they're ever so happy that they could come to in a sense, a rural area and have games there. They thought it was, they're very happy. And with down at AMO past weekend ago, the Impact, they had a meeting or a delegation, and they know that they have to become better, have a better rapport with the public. And so they're promoting engagement. But at this present time, they're looking at 640 property inspections a day. So I think, yeah, multiply that up over a month, that's pretty good. And they're finding out that the outcome of those, about 94% of the people are happy. But I guess the thing I took away from it, and with our treasurer here, they find the revenue earlier by pushing this on, and then that's good for a municipality, right, Chris? It's a win-win for everyone. And again, they just want to try and get a better position between everyone, just get people happier and whatnot. Another one I'd like to mention was the life cycle look at the recreation, the hard decision, user fees, liability. And we belong to the ORFA, that's Ontario Recreation Facility Association, and how things have changed since the late 70s. I know many of you will know about the local arenas that got built at that time. And it cost approximately $215 a square foot. Excuse me. Now it's up over $700 a square foot. So their needs and wants, they have to really look at this and maybe bring some of those sizes down, and or you know how the cost implications can be at that. And the life cycle planning is a win-win for our facility. It reduces risk, mechanical and structure, and again, reduce the risk of costly emergencies and risk of downtime when a hockey tournament, broom ball, or something like that goes on. You want that machine to be working. And the worker, the guy in charge of it, Steve Hardy of ORFA, he said how things have changed in the last number of years. It used to be 2 types of chillers that they looked at. Now there's up to 16, 17. So to get a person that can go to any chiller and do the work on it, it is very hard. So just, this is how things are changing. Things change so quick. And then went to a long-term thing. Say grayer hair, you think of these things a little bit more, but the long care term, it's doubled in the last 10 years. And they're behind 45,000 patients that are caught in hospitals and whatnot, where they're trying to find a place for them. And that's increasing by over 5,000 a year. And so you can multiply that out. We need a lot of care beds out there. And I know that is what they're working on at this time. And that's all I'd like to say with that. So are there any other reports from anybody? Go ahead, Councillor Van Hitterson, please.
Thank you very much, Rafe. The Belgrave Playground Committee met this morning with the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee. They are going to write a report. It was a very, very nice meeting. We showed each other what was possible and looked around. It was, yeah, all very positive, and hopefully we'll this will help us to get some funding for the playground. They're doing a bottle drive today and tomorrow, so hopefully that will bring in some extra money. Next month, it will be a cornhole, no, this month, the 19th will be a cornhole tournament, so working hard to raise some funds for the playground.
Great. That's great. Any other verbal or written updates by members? Or just comments by members? Go ahead, Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. It kind of puts in the Blythe BIA and the service clubs and such. Just want to say that the Thrashers has once again descended upon the village of Blythe, and it's quite a buzz with activity, and will be for the till the beginning of next week. It's an opportunity for quite a few, or almost all of the service groups and small community fundraisers to pretty much put them over the top for the year for their fundraising. Some that's all they do is Thrashers to support their community services efforts throughout town. So I commend them all, and I invite everybody in the viewing and listening audience to come on down to Blythe and take in the Thrashers this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments by members? Seeing none, notice of motion. Any motion for anybody? Seeing none. Bylaw number 57-2024 zoning bylaw amendment, Southside Construction Management Limited, third reading. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Palmer, all in favor. Carried. 9.2 bylaw number 66-2024 strategic asset management policy. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor. Carried. 9.3 bylaw number 67-2024 asset management plan. May I have a mover? Councillor Palmer, Deputy Reeve, all in favor. Carried. 9.4 bylaw number 68-2024 eligible community depot agreement with Circular Materials Ontario. May I have a mover? Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Wright. All in favor. Carried. Next meetings and announcement, the next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, September 16, 2024 at 6 p.m. in North Huron Council Chambers here, 271 Francis Street. Next Wingham BIA board meeting will be held on Thursday, September 19th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the Hot Stove Lounge at the North Huron Westcast Community Complex. And the next Blythe BIA board meeting will be held on Thursday, September 26th, 2024 at 8 a.m. in the Blythe and District Community Center. Are there any other announcements? Go ahead.
Thank you, Reeve. The Blythe area board meetings will be at the Blythe Inn, as far as I know, from going forward. They have been for the
Clerk, to address that, please.
Through you, your worship, to Deputy Falconer. The meetings are supposed to be at the Blythe Community Center. An email was sent to the chair of the Blythe BIA board last week to inform them of that, as to ensure that proper notice and everything is being provided. So my expectation is that going forward, they are back in the Blythe District Community Center.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Just a rebuttal there. I've been to 4 meetings this year at the Blythe Community Center, and we were not gained access to that building for the meeting. So I don't know what transpired, but if it's on a regular scheduled date, having the participants having to find secondary locations to have it. They just got fed up and decided when they found a place that they could have opened. So it's not by the means of the board themselves. It's by having to find alternative places to be.
So leave that with staff, because we did send something to get them booked for the whole year. So we'll look into that for you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson,
Yeah,
please.
sorry, forgot about it. I would like to remind everybody of the opening of the G2G Blight Greenway Trailhead on September the 6th for ribbon cutting and anything.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay. No other business? Closed session and reporting out?
Yeah, so through your worship, just one slight change to the staff recommended motion. So just need to add the Human Resources Health and Safety Coordinator as being in attendance for item 1 of closed.
Okay, thank you. So do I have to read that now?
Motion for council.
Okay, may I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, seconder, Councillor Van Henderson, all in favor?